BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast, your easily digestible daily dose of news, views and analysis from our beautiful game. It's Tuesday, the 28th of May. I'm Phil Goodlad and here's what's coming up for you today.
Honestly, it's been the journey of a lifetime so far. Being on this journey and, going through so many different towns, cities, villages, you meet so many amazing people and it really has been something so special.
We're on the march to Munich. We hear from the Scotland fan in the middle of a 1,000-mile trek to the Euros. He may be on the move, but this guy isn't.
If the club want me here, I'll be here, and I'll be here fighting and doing everything I can to try and take this club back to the Premier League.
David Martindale's staying put, as is Rhys McCabe.
Nobody remembers a performance, so remember that we're the winners. Football's a short career, and when you get opportunities to win silverware, you've got to make sure you enjoy it as well, so we'll do that tonight.
His Airdrie side are the current SPFL Trust trophy holders, but what will the revamped competition look like next season? Great to have you along today. It's funny, the domestic season over, but there's still plenty of football to talk about, not least as we build to a certain tournament happening in Germany in just over 2 weeks' time. I'm delighted to say that Rory Loy, former Rangers, Carlisle, Falkirk and Dundee striker, is with us, and Craig Ferguson, the Scotland fan walking from Glasgow to Germany for the Euros. Gentlemen, hello. Craig, the simple question, why?
Well, I guess when you hear about a challenge like this, that is the rationale number one question. Why would anyone walk from Glasgow to Germany? I guess the sort of birth of the idea very much came from a normal chat with one of my pals, as many other Scots up and down the country would have been doing. We were like, how are we going to get to Germany next summer? And he kind of jokingly suggested, you should walk there. And I pretty much told him to shut up, and that was that. But I don't know what it was. Something about that phone call, the idea kind of just sat with me, and I just started falling further down the rabbit hole of planning for something like this. And before I knew it, I was in too deep, and I was like, I owe it to myself to do this challenge. And here we are, 6 months later, and I'm halfway through. Yeah. So,
Rory Loy, I know that you and I are meant to be polite on this podcast, but can you understand Craig Ferguson at all right now?
Well, to be fair, it'll be some atmosphere when he gets to Germany. I was going to say that walking's probably the cheapest way to get there, but I suppose with the amount of hotels and things he's going to need to pay for on the way there, that's maybe not the case. But no, I can't relate to the urge of wanting to walk from Glasgow to Germany, but we pot of gold at the end of it, so it'll be worth it.
No, definitely. I think when you see the flight prices as well, but you're absolutely spot on. It might drive a man to walk there, but I'm taking the unorthodox route, that's for sure.
But one of the things that we'll speak about in a moment, Craig, is Rory says there's a wee pot of gold. You don't even have a ticket for the Germany game. You're walking all this distance and you can't even get in at the moment. Listen, we'll come to that. We'll talk about that. Who knows? We might even put out a plea for some kind soul to try and smuggle you in to the Germany game. For now, though, there's plenty to discuss. We'll get through the headlines and then we'll get back to Rory and to Craig. Relegated Livingston have confirmed that manager David Martindale will remain in charge of the club next season. The SPFL Trust Trophy will return to a Scottish-only format for the next campaign. This after a lucrative revamp that will see English, Welsh and Irish clubs drop out, replaced by Highland and Lowland League sides. The current holders of that trophy, Airdrie, they've announced that their highly rated young manager Rhys McCabe has extended his contract with the club. And it's being reported that the Rangers defender Leon Balogun has signed a new 1-year contract extension at Ibrox. Rory Loy, first up, David Martindale. He stays on at Livingston. First things first, is that a surprise?
I think in any other club, after you've been relegated with so many points left to play for at the end of the season, it's been inevitable for a long time. I think it would be a surprise. But David Martindale and Livingston, I don't think it's all that surprising. I think if you'd asked a few people if he'd stay on, they might have thought that he would. So he's been there through probably the most successful stint in the club's history, the last 10 years, really, getting promoted from League One, getting through the playoffs into the Premier League, top 6 finishes, cup final. So they feel he deserves the opportunity and the chance to stay on as manager. There's pros and cons to that, Phil. He knows the club, he knows the league and all the rest of it, all that type of thing. And he knows how to get them out of the league. But you just get the feeling, has he still got the motivation for it? There becomes a time when things naturally move on, and you just felt maybe this was the time for David Martindale to naturally move on from Livingston. However, they decided against it, and he's got many challenges ahead next season in what will be a competitive championship.
There was a couple of interviews towards the end of the season, Rory, that I was listening to either before a match on a Saturday or during his press conference through the week, and he to be honest, just sounded a defeated man in trying to keep Livingston up, which eventually he was. But I just wondered at that point whether we were seeing somebody that was almost getting ready for a fresh challenge and not staying at Livingston.
Yeah, absolutely. And it went stale a little bit, which you can't really say that David Martindale has ever been guilty of, coming across a little bit like he'd kind of had enough. I think there was a little bit of an inevitability about his interviews as well, where he felt, I think he just knew he didn't have the squad to keep them in the league. And then, when you become cut adrift and further adrift, and the players that he's got at his disposal just weren't cutting the mustard in terms of the other teams in the league. And he probably does deserve the chance to stay on, given everything that he's done for the club. My fear would be exactly what you say, Phil, that kind of stagnant feel continues and overlaps and is a bit of a hangover into next season, because with Dunfermline and Falkirk and Airdrie and the likes in the league, Raith Rovers still in the league, it's really going to be competitive. I don't think there's a standout clear candidate, but I'm just not sure Livingston's going to be one of the ones that gets spoken about.
Another manager staying put, Rhys McCabe at Airdrie. He's made the headlines for all the positive reasons this season, with the display of his side, that the game against Hearts, that they were well beaten but played really well. For me, was a standout in the Scottish Cup. You surprised that McCabe stays?
Am I surprised that the club have done everything they can to extend his contract? No, I'm not. Does that necessarily mean he'll be there for the length of that contract, Phil? I don't think so. I think they're just getting their ducks in a row for when the inevitable happens and a bigger club come in and they can demand a higher fee. It's just good business. So, we use the term stay. Yes, it might mean he might stay for the next 3 to 6 months, but after that, who knows? And Airdrie just protecting themselves. Rhys McCabe thoroughly deserves a new contract where he'll be paid more money. And potentially discussions have been ongoing with regards to maybe having a little bit more money available, and given the new prize pot at the end of the SPFL Trust Trophy, they'll be hoping to win it again next year.
Yeah, I'll come to that in just a moment, but firstly, let's get rid of the elephant in the room. He's only 31. I mean, Rory, what have we been doing with our lives? Rhys McCabe is 31 and he's writing his own future.
Yeah, I mean, I played with Rhys when I was a young lad coming through at Rangers, and I'll be honest, he never struck me as the type that would be a manager.
Why? Why?
I mean, well, he was only 19 at the time, but
that's only 12 years ago. How terrifying is that?
I know, but you are very different after 10 years in football. You need to grow up a lot, and you need to learn a lot. I suppose the fact he was 19, I don't think you put anyone as a manager that wee bit of immaturity on the pitch as well. He wasn't really sure where he wanted to play, what he wanted to do type thing. He got moved around quite a lot, and then he got a bit of a break when Rangers were relegated and coming back up. And he went on and did well in his career, but he's flourishing as a manager. He really, really is. And I spoke to him after they'd beaten St Mirren a couple of years ago in the League Cup, and he'd just got the job. And I'd said to him, I says, it's going to be a tough league, etc., etc. And he'd said, the more teams that can play football in League One, the better, because that'll suit us. My goodness, it didn't half, and he got promoted. And then the following year, finished in the playoffs. They've won a trophy as well under him. And yeah, after speaking to him that night, Phil, I could see why he'd been so successful, because he's used those 10 years in football to learn an awful lot.
Yeah, Craig, we're going to speak to you in just a moment, because I'm wondering, as you're walking to Germany, is there some of our European friends running up to you at the side of the road and going, Rhys McCabe, is he only 31? We'll come to you in just a moment. Firstly, the SPFL trophy, Rory, I mean, the revamp, I quite liked the cross-border participation, maybe because it was a throwback to years gone by when we seemed to have more Scottish-English matches. The trophy now involving Highland and Lowland League sides, and it's an all-Scottish affair. Is that something you can get behind?
Absolutely, because I have to say I would be of the opposite view of you. I wasn't a fan of the other teams. You know, it's a Scottish trophy at the end of the day, and it was almost like they were added in because we needed to make it a slightly bigger tournament, and I didn't really get it. You know, the teams from other countries being involved.
But is the SPFL trophy just being a Scottish affair, not just a glorified League Cup?
Not really, because it's not available to the teams in the top flight. So it gives teams out with the top flight an opportunity to go on and play in a final, lift a trophy, puts themselves in the shop window, and they can showcase their talents for potential moves. And I just think the tournament as a whole is not the League Cup, because it doesn't involve every team in the country. Only a certain amount of teams can win it. I played in the English version down south a few times, got to the final, and I played at Wembley. I would never have got the chance to do that, Phil, if it wasn't for a trophy like that. And when you consider, I've also played in the Trust Trophy final, St Mirren against Dundee United, and Fir Park was packed out. It's Cup final day. Now, players may not ever get the chance to experience things like that. So, and it was a great day out for the fans. So, don't think it's a glorified League Cup in any way, shape, or form. I think it's a good avenue for the teams, especially now that the lower league teams are coming into it, to find success, to get days out for their fans, to have a good cup run, and not come up against Rangers, Celtic, Aberdeen, Hibs, Hearts, and that's the end of the road for them. So, no, I don't agree it's glorified League Cup. I think it's a good thing.
All change then for next season with it, as you say, being all lower league sides as opposed to cross-border competition. Right, Craig Ferguson, 1,000-mile walk from Glasgow to Germany. First things first, where are you this very day?
Yeah, so this morning I have woke up in Luxembourg City, so this is country number 5 of the journey so far, and woke up. It's always a nice feeling, sort of waking up in a new city. You know, you get to kind of walk through and explore it for the day. But yeah, that's where I am at the moment, Luxembourg City.
Right. So you say it's a nice feeling, but if you've walked 20 miles the day before, you must be absolutely knackered when you wake up.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely days where you think that the extra hour in bed would definitely be needed, but look, it's one of those things, you know, I've got a job to do at the end of the day, and that's to just get up and get the miles in. So keeping a sort of routine where I'm up every day at a similar sort of time, getting into the walking, and yeah, just cracking on. Surprisingly, my body's holding up pretty well, so yeah, I can't complain.
Craig, you don't have a job at the end of the day on this. You're walking to the football. This is you can't say this is a job.
That is very true.
This is just a fantastic experience. Remind us how this came around again. You were down the pub with your mates and thought, I know, let's walk to the Euros.
Yeah, it's sort of something similar to that. Yeah, it was just a sort of joke that spiraled into me really feeling as if I had to do it, and yeah, well, I got planning it, and here I am.
I'm saying 18 to 20 miles. Is that right, that you're walking each day?
It's probably more anything between about 23 to 30 miles, to be honest with you.
Okay, and you're in full kilt, full Scotland top?
Full kilt the full time.
Now, do you remember that rather risque fashion a few years back with the Tartan Army, where they would wear the fancy brown boots, you know, and the socks, and the brown boots looked really nice until the end of the night when they'd been in a busy pub and they got all messed and they were all stained.
Yeah.
I take it you're not full regalia. You've got a comfy pair of trainers on.
Yeah, exactly. Got the trainers on, definitely. Yeah.
And how is the body holding up? I mean, the state of your feet. We mentioned you've been wearing good trainers. Are you bothered by blisters?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few blisters that have been a bit challenging, but I mean, I don't think my first one started to form until about 20 days in, which is just incredible, and I would have bit your hand off that at the start of the challenge if you said like it was going to take 20 days before you start feeling anything really sort of bad in your feet. But to be honest, it's very much a case of, you know, at the end of every day, the body is sore. Like, I'll finish the sort of 25 miles, especially the days that are upwards of that. And I'm very tired, and it is challenging. However, like I said, it's crazy what getting in, resting up, getting to sleep, and then you wake up the next morning and just like that, I'm ready to go again. But
what about your accommodation? Are you flipping around the apps on your phone to try and book somewhere as you're walking on the day? How's that working?
Yeah, so pretty much, obviously, I've got the plan in place for where I'm starting and finishing every night. A lot of the time, it's very much playing it by ear, where I'll maybe walk 10 miles in the day and see it looks like I'm going to end up here definitely. So then I'll just go on and start looking at booking hotels for that night.
And you do that yourself? You don't have anybody doing that for you? You're actually on the phone on Airbnb or booking.com?
Yeah. One thing I would say about this challenge is it very much is a case of, you know, one-man band in it. You know, I've not got a sort of massive support network of, you know, corporate sponsors, etc., etc. It's very much with the backing of me and the charity and a few others, living out of a big bag for over a month.
Speak to us about the charity, because there is a serious point to why you're walking 1,000 miles from Glasgow to Munich.
Of course. So the charity that I'm raising money for this challenge is Brothers in Arms. So they're a men's mental health charity based in Glasgow, so a local charity, and their sort of number one goal is to prevent male suicide. I mean, I say as simple as that, but you know, it's such a complex issue, and I wish that there was a solution that everyone knew. But quite frankly, as we know with men's mental health and mental health in general, you know, there isn't an answer and there isn't an easy solution. But hopefully, you know, with the funds raised via this challenge, you know, it's definitely a big step in the right direction, and, you know, spreading awareness as well, which is going to be key.
Well, good for you, Craig. When you get to Munich, and I only found this out just the other day, when you get to Munich, you don't even have a ticket.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right. It's all right booking your hotel rooms each day after 10 miles, but how have you not got a ticket?
Well, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because the whole thing's a bit crazy, but maybe the fact that I don't even have a ticket might just be the maddest part. But I always said at the start, you know, I tried to get my hands on tickets and, you know, couldn't quite. But I always said at the start, look, I want to do this challenge, ticket or not. I'm going to get to Munich regardless and enjoy myself. And if I happen to come across a ticket, you know, then it's just going to be a massive bonus. I think it would be a very nice, you know, sort of way to cap off the journey and the story, getting that ticket at the end. But, you know, I think as well what would be nice for me in the next sort of few weeks coming into the sort of end is, you know, a bit of acknowledgement from the team and, you know, just a bit of support and stuff as well, just to really know that I've got everyone behind me. But, I mean, the support from back home so far has been incredible.
Not a bad pitch for a ticket.
Well,
it's not a bad
Rory,
pitch.
thank you. I was just going to say, stop tiptoeing around it and just ask. If anybody has a ticket, can you give this guy one, please?
Can I just ask, Phil, Craig, are you allowed to run, or do you specifically have to walk? So say if it got towards the end of the day and you thought, right, I have 5 miles left, the pub closes in an hour, I'm going to put the foot down and run for the last hour. Is that allowed?
See, the thing with it is sometimes it is definitely tempting, and I've ran very, very small parts, but the only thing that makes the running part of it challenging is having the bag. I mean, you won't have seen the size of my bag, but you're probably talking like 12 kilograms or something like that, and it is massive. So try to run with a big 12 kilogram bag is a bit challenging, and then the kilt starts swaying as well. So the running aspect I've not really done. You kind of just go, oh come on, just walk through the end.
Craig, just finally, you say you don't have a ticket for Munich. Do you actually have a place to stay in Munich?
Yeah, well, I've thought that far ahead, surprisingly, I guess. But yes, I've got accommodation booked in Munich. Like I said, I was always going to go to Germany, you know, and enjoy myself, you know, with the fans and stuff like that, and take in the whole experience. So I've got accommodation booked in all the different locations in Germany. But yeah, just no ticket.
Okay. And listen, you've got 5 seconds. I know this is the BBC and I've probably about to break every rule that we have, but you've got 5 seconds. If you've got a plea, go with it now. Ask the nation. If anybody has a ticket, the floor is yours.
Okay, guys, if there's anyone out there with a spare or anything, please sort me out. I'm walking from Glasgow to Munich. I think that I might deserve a ticket. If anyone can sort me out, thank you very, very much.
Rory, any pleas you want to make? Anything you want for Christmas? Anything you want to get off your chest?
No, I'm just thinking if it was to guarantee qualification, would you walk to America, Craig?
Look, who knows what's on the horizon for me after this, but I think I might.
I don't know how you go about doing that, but hey.
I know I might need to try and learn to walk on water for that one. But who knows what's ahead of me after this.
Listen, if we get out this group, we'll all be walking on water, let me tell you. Craig, you're a good sport. Thank you very much indeed for joining us in Luxembourg, and best of luck. Listen, I head out for the radio for the Munich match. Let's get in touch and we'll have you on the programme that morning.
Definitely. Thank you very much for having me on, gents.
Rory, great to have you on as well. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thanks, Phil. Enjoyed it.
That's all we've got time for. Many thanks to Rory Loy and best of luck to Craig Ferguson there. It's Liam MacLeod who's in the seat for you tomorrow with the Scottish Football Podcast. You know, the domestic season is over. Still plenty to talk about, not least, of course, the women's national side in action this week. And then we switch our attention to Steve Clarke's Main for their warm-ups the following week. If you've got any thoughts about anything that's happening in our beautiful game at the moment, please get in touch. The email address scottishfootball@bbc.co.uk. For now, though, enjoy the rest of your day and we'll speak again soon.
The Scotland Rugby Podcast is now available every Tuesday. Join me, Andy Burke and Tom English. Just head to BBC Sounds and subscribe to the Scotland Rugby Podcast.
It's just seismic stuff.
There's bucket hats as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is this a rugby podcast or is this a fashion podcast?
Why can't it be a bit of both?
Rugby. Let's get on to rugby.
There's a lot to be excited about.
Today's guest, John McGuigan.
Clubs are at the absolute bedrock of everything Scottish rugby's about.
The Rugby Sports Sound Podcast from BBC Radio Scotland.
You cannot help but be so excited.
It's going to be the centre of the rugby universe.
BBC Sounds.